Never rush to invest. In anything you do as far as the money is concerned, never rush to invest. These are the reasons I'm going to share with you that you're not supposed to do, but instead of rushing to invest, do this. And by the way, never consider investing as an, sort of an emergency or something of sort. It is not an emergency. And I always tell people, you'd rather let your money be eaten away by inflation, because obviously inflation eats your money, but a bit of a slower rate compared to you putting your money out there and losing it all from an investment that you did not understand. You did just rush to invest into it and then you regret later. I repeat, I would rather, or your money would rather stay in a bank idle, be eaten away by inflation, compared to you setting up a business out there and all your money goes out there. So now, this is the point that I'm going to share with you. All right. The point number one, when it comes to investment, never treat it as a sort of an emergency. When it comes to investment, sometimes I usually have people who are telling me, and when you call me and ask me, hey Joseph, what business can I invest? Or maybe you're telling me I did start a business. Sometimes you can ask somebody and you listen to what they're telling you and they say, I started a business just because I can. There is this argument, just because I can, just because I can. Just because, for example, say you've been having a conversation with people like, hey, I want to get myself into, fashion and design business, or maybe let's say cereal business, or whichever the business out there. And then maybe people tells you like, okay, fine, it will be like $500,000, or maybe let's say 200K, you can be able to start that business. And you are like, I got the money in my bank, so why not? So let me just go again and start that business because, hey, I was told that with only 200K, you can be able to start, and I have that money. So you go ahead, withdraw your money and start the business. So the basis of argument of you starting that business is, I can, just because I can, I have the ability, I have the money. Never start a business or an investment just because you have the money. Never ever do that, because the things that are gonna get you is that, hey, you ought to justify yourself why you are starting a business. Yes, you can. That should be one factor. True. Okay. Number two, what gap do you want to fill? Number three, what are your target customers? Number four, from which area are you gonna get your target customers? Because location is quite an important thing in terms of your investment. Or maybe say you wanna get into these soft investments like the MMF, bond fund, balance fund, and what have you. Then why do you wanna get towards that? Okay, what are you looking forward into getting? Okay, do you need cash flow or do you need asset? You see, you have to get exactly that what fits you, because people actually have this mentality of, hey, guess what? Because shares is doing good, we all need to have shares. Okay, because money market is doing good, then we all to have the money market fund. No, sometimes you may realize it is not working. For example, I'll give you a very real example. Sometimes I receive a call from a client and tells me, hey Joseph, I really want to invest, I want to do this, because I want to secure my future. And when I listen to them, I realize they're not talking about investments, they're actually talking about businesses. And then, because when you tell them, hey, you can put like your million bob somewhere, and then you get this someone, they're like, what? You mean returns are at the end of the year? So they're like, no, I don't want that. I want to be getting money in a day. And then I realize, oh, you're talking about businesses, right? Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So it's always good to make sure that at least what are you looking forward into getting. And I always love to give this case scenario. Say somebody approaches you and they only have like 100K, they do not have any other money. And they're telling you, this is the money that I'm looking for. This is the money that I would like you to buy bills or pay bills for me like next week. So what do I do? So you cannot sit there and talk about bonds and bills and shares and MMF and all those kind of things, because they ain't gonna resonate with them. Now you have to shift towards the businesses and all those kind of things. But you have to tell them, hey, if you get yourself into the businesses, yeah, there are chances of you making more money because they're regarded of having high returns. But at the same time, they also have what? Or they come with high risks. Those are the factors. So the point is this: don't rush into starting a business. The other problem that I've seen with people is that they usually have this a stereotype about a business or investment. Stereotype, about about a business or what? An investment. Why? Usually because there is this argument like, hey, you never grow rich by your job, you never do this, so fine, you think like by virtue of me going out there and starting a business or an investment, then everything will work. This is actually the way out and all those kind of things. Sometimes they even dare quit their jobs. And then once we get into the industry of investments or the businesses, you realize it's totally opposite of how you usually to get from your job. For example, do you know one thing? If you are employed, you are always paid first. But when you start a business, you are always paid last. You have to pay your bills, you have to pay your electricity, you have to pay your operational cost, your workers, your transport, your logistics, your suppliers, your distributors, your licensing and everything. Then the rest, what is remaining, is actually paying you. And on top of that, what you're paying you, you ought also to set aside money for the development and expansion of the business. So that's the difference. So if you come on board into the investments or into the businesses and you have the mentality of an employee, you're never gonna survive. For example, say you want to start a consultancy business, and then you come and rent an office, because this is how you used to see it when you're employed. You buy yourself the best and expensive furniture, you get yourself the computers, the water dispensers, where you hang your clothes, a very good shelf, wardrobe, and all those. I mean, like, you have like a fancy office, and then you're seated there, you're waiting for the clients to come and call you and consult you. And then guess what happens? You have already gotten yourself on top of you what we call, the operational cost. You ought to pay your rent, you ought to pay your licensing and everything. And then you did not even try to do things like, you forgot one thing. By the time you were employed in that specific company, they took their time. Maybe the company started online. If you cannot be able to stand before a camera and tell people who you are, what services you offer, and try to test the waters and see whether these guys can be able to come to you and be able to offer those consultations, ask you those questions and all those kind of things, then it tells you probably the area that you're getting yourself to. It's quite a good area, but it's not yet ripe for your investments. And this is the mistake that most of the people usually get themselves into. You go out there, you start a business, and then you employ a lot of people because you're anticipating the business will require a lot of personnel. And then by the time this guy starts working, then you realize, wow, I have like 10 workers. This business is actually asking for 4 workers. So therefore, I'm having like 6 people whom I'm paying for quite no reason. I had a friend of mine who started a business, and the guy employed 6 guys, and then after some time they realized, hey, guess what, this business only requires 3 people. Sometimes it's good to listen to the business, not what you think. There is a difference between what is the business plan and the actuality on the ground. Okay, so those are the things that you're supposed to understand. So never rush into an investment. So what you're supposed to do is this: before now number 3, I would say study the business first. Study the investment that you want to get yourself into. What do I mean? Like, hey, I want to get myself into the real estate. Now understand, okay, fine, I want to get myself into the real estate. How much will I require? When I say study, I also do what? Count the cost. You know why? I do have a client, and by the way, majority of them calling me and telling me, hey, guess what, Joseph? I wanted to get myself into the real estate. I did contact my architects and engineers and contractors and what have you. They told me, hey, just give me 10 million. I'll do away with that project and everything will be okay. Right now, as we speak, I'm at 9.5 million. I'm not seeing any signs of this project being complete, and I'm wondering what I can be able to do. Have you ever seen an individual who gets or breaks the ground and start construction, but they reach a certain particular point, they cannot be able to finish the project, the money is lying idle, you do not know what you can be able to do, you even regret, I would rather channel that money towards a bond or a bill, because I'll be making some cash out there. You just have an asset that is not generating income, it is just looking at you, you're just relying on the masses of it increasing in terms of the price of the land or something of that. Have you ever seen those kind of things? So it's always good to make sure that at least you calculate and count the real cost of coming up with that specific investment that you want to get yourself into. All right. And again, it's also good to study that investment, understand it, all the nitty-gritties. What are the statistics? Sometimes I tell people, you can even, if you come from Kenya, you can go to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. They can give you these numbers. Obviously, you pay them, they give you those numbers. Like, say you want to get yourself into the alcohol industry, you need to understand how many people are you targeting. You see, you want to get yourself into the importation of clothing, you have to understand how many people are into the business, what are the markets out there. If you want to get yourself into something like transport industry, how many matatus do we have, or trotro if you come from Ghana, or maybe taxi if you come from South Africa. You see, so you have to understand exactly, or daladala if you come from Tanzania. So you have to understand this type of a business that I'm getting myself into. How does the statistics looks like? And that's why you find when these international companies come in, say in your country, they usually do what we call the feasibility study, so that at least by the time they do the groundbreaking, they expect something. For example, if you come from Kenya, there was this company that was to construct, a tall operated road from Nairobi all the way to Mombasa. But they said, no, hey, we cannot be able to do that. If you do the feasibility study, we are not seeing, a good number of cars, or the fleet of cars that is actually capable to repaying back this amount of money that we're going to invest here. Well, that was the argument. I was just using that example to explain my point. It's always good to make sure, hey, I want to start this business somewhere. Then go out to that specific location and then look for the existing business. Okay, use your intelligence and the wisdom to gather, like, how much are they making in a day? Like, how frequently is those places visited? Probably you might get into a business where most of the people in that area are thinking of closing up. It is true. You might get into an area where that business is actually about to be banned and you do not know, just because you had the money and then you found yourself a location and then boom, you start a business. It's always good to make sure that you do that feasibility study, you investigate, you reinvestigate again, so that at least you understand what you're getting yourself into. Rather than, can you imagine this? It's like marrying wrong, and then people are never wrong. Okay, this is how we frame it. See, when you get into a marriage and then you realize, hey, this is not the person I married, I think these people are totally wrong. No, people don't change. They have been wrong all the way from the word go. See, it's like acting surprisingly at the middle of operation of your business, and then you realize, what did I get myself into? This business cannot even work. It is not even working. You're thinking of shifting or quitting. Then if you imagine the amount of money that you put in this business, then you feel like, my goodness, I'm gonna get my blood pressure or something of sort. So it's always good to make sure that at least don't rush into investment. Also, make sure that at least you don't operate under peer pressure. There are some people do something called the fear of losing out, the fear of missing out, called the fear, of missing out. I've ever heard of people talking about, hey, guess what? Right now is the best time to do this. Hey, right now is the best time to, yeah. And I remember there was a time, something called the IPOs, as far as the shares are concerned, when most of the companies were floated in Kenya. I don't want to mention the companies, and a lot of people, there was that mad rush, into acquiring the shares of those companies, and sometimes you do not have a justification why you want to get into it, but you're like, okay, fine, it's there, it is selling. A lot of people are getting into it. Hey, I'm missing out, I'm missing out. And then in the process, you end up making a decision that is not so wise and not so quite good. And then in the process, you'll be like, this wasn't my thing, actually. So it's always good to make sure that at least before you put your money out there, you not only consider that what people are doing majority, but also you can justify why you are getting yourself into the business. Why? If you justify yourself into the business, you've calculated the cost in terms of the operations and all of the profits. So if you get yourself into the business, even if all people are quitting, or people are quitting at a very high rate, you always hold still, because, hey, this is not what you saw. You saw something big, and then you have the plans and all those kind of things. And also good to have an exit plan, just in case things go south. What can you be able to do? I know this may be very, sort of a bitter pill to swallow, but for a fact, ask yourself, like, what would be my exit plan, just in case things go south? It's always good to make sure that you have that in plan, just in case things does not go by yourself. Anyway, guess what, guys? That marks the end of my 5 strong points on why you should not rush into an investment. Take your time, and I always tell people, you'd rather take your time, get it right, rather than rush and get it wrong. Right? Just because you want to appear as if you're smart in terms of the investments. That's how it goes. But again, don't play over safe. There's again, I might say take your time and then take all the time. No, I didn't say take all the time. Take your time before you put any investment out there. And sometimes I tell people, you'd rather even contract a person to actually do you the feasibility study, or maybe, have a sort of a neutral, sort of a view or something of sort. Sometimes this issue of just, contacting your closest family member, some of them may not give you the real information, in the name of, you see, they want some of them want good about you. They want you to succeed. They can never tell you this can't work. So they always tell you, yeah, it can work, it can be good. They pamper you with, like, yeah, you go ahead, go do it. They don't tell you the truth. Sometimes it's good to contract that individual. You share the dream that you want. And obviously, when I say somebody, I mean like a financial advisor or something of sort, and therefore you can be able to progress to the next level. So by the time you're starting that investment, you already know what you want to do. Anyway, guess what, guys? Talking about that, you can always grab my number from the description of this specific video. Shoot me a call, then you can be able to proceed from there. For now, it's a goodbye, and see you in the next one. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and also comment down below. See you in the next one.